Sorry to keep you all waiting. We've had a few things we were dealing with this morning that have kept us busy, and we apologize for that delay. If we're ready to record, we'll go ahead and begin. Are we on? Okay, welcome. Today is Tuesday, the 11th day of August of 2015, and this is our regular commission meeting commencing at 10 a.m. On said day. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led today by, the invocation, which will be led today by our Clerk Auditor, Ricky Hatch. Our Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Chris Allred, our County Attorney, who we're glad is here today. We don't get to see him every week in this meeting, so we try to send Dave fishing every now and then so that Chris can come visit us. And I will have the thought of the day. So, Ricky.
Our kind Father in heaven, we are grateful this morning to meet together. We're thankful for this country, Father, for the freedoms that the government protects, freedoms granted from Thee. We are thankful for the chance to meet in an open forum, an open discussion in front of citizens and open to the public so that the public can be aware of decisions that are made and have a voice and an input. We ask that Thy Spirit of wisdom will be with us this morning. Help us as we make decisions, that we can be guided by principles of truth and liberty. We love Thee and ask for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate that great invocation, and Chris for leading us in that Pledge of Allegiance. As part of the thought today, I just have to tell you how proud I was of all of our staff, and most of all, our volunteers out at the Weber County Fair this last week. I mean, they absolutely knocked it out of the park. I was in the middle of a meeting at church on Sunday, and I got a text from one of the volunteers who was, late afternoon. They were still at the fairgrounds trying to get animals in the right place and to the right place, and they had a question. And I said, "Are you guys still there?" And he says, "Yeah, we're about done, but we're still here." And it's just amazing to me the type of coordination and the type of effort that it takes to put together an event like that fair. And it truly is a community celebration, one that we all should be so proud of. And frankly, it doesn't happen that way without individuals who are just willing to say, "Hey, I'm going to be a part of my community in a positive way and do something great for them." It was just really, really a neat event all the way through, from the beginning to the end, and all the different programs and all the different things. I don't even want to start mentioning them because there's so many and something for everybody. And we just have received such positive feedback. We're always evaluating, trying to think how we can do better, but we're very, very proud of our community and the celebration that they have put together with that fair. And so we want to thank all of you. We know that many of you volunteered at the county booth and at the different booths, the library booth. Some of you volunteered at, and we just appreciate it. We know that it's a lot of extra effort. And this, when I saw this quote of the day, I decided to use this one. I thought it was pretty funny, and I kind of use this in opposite of what I saw at the fair and what I see from you, because it is a challenge in life sometimes when people don't want to get involved and pull their weight. And this was just a funny little one that I saw. It said, from Paul Ott Carruth, said, an American football player, and he said this: "Some people remind us of blisters. They don't show up until the work is done." I just thought that was a kind of a good one. But the reality is, I am grateful to say that I don't see that mentality here at the county. Our employees are excellent. Our volunteers are excellent as well. And frankly, I'm just really, really proud and grateful to work with each and every one of you. You do a tremendous job at the work that you do, just some really heartwarming experiences there at the fair that point that out to me even more and more. So thank you again for your participation. Some really amazing development of some kids in that junior livestock program. Tell you what, you see little Tucker Doak, handicapped in so many ways, chasing a pig through that show ring, and the difference that animal, that he literally threw himself on that animal and hugged that pig, and it stayed still while he just hugged it and cried and laughed and smiled. I'm telling you, it's worth every dime. I could go broke at that sale 20 times over because it is just so worth it. Well, it's a great experience. All right, my commiserating has taken its toll, so let's move on. All right, we'll move to our consent items. We do have a short commission meeting today, ladies and gentlemen. It shouldn't take too long. We just have a couple of action items. We don't expect that next week. We have a lot of things on the agenda for next week, but this week is one of those that's been a little slow. So we'll work through it, and appreciate you being here with us. Our consent items are as follows. Item number 1, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $119,034.89. Request for approval of warrants number 323801 through 323945 in the amount of $2,092,318.10. Request for approval for the minutes held on August 4th of 2015. Request for approval of ACH payment to U.S. Bank in the amount of $129,358.22 for purchasing card transactions made through the billing cycle ending July 15th of 2015. Request for approval of revised right-of-way contract by and between Weber County and Paul Ransom, the trustee of the Reese Ransom Irrevocable Trust, for the purchase of easement on 3500 West, extension, project parcel number, I'm going to let you read that number, I don't think that's critical, to the original contract approved on August 4th of 2015. Request to set the date of August 25th, 2015 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to consider and take action on a proposal to amend the following sections of Weber County Land Use Code definitions. On a proposal to amend the following sections of the Weber County Land Use Code. Conditional uses, all that stuff that goes with it, and supplementary and qualifying regulations to update and clarify provisions related to conditional use permitting and procedures. Item number 7 is request to set the date of August 25th, 2015 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to consider and take action on a proposal to amend the following section of the Weber County Land Use Code: home occupation, short-term vendors, temporary outdoor sales, or in farmers markets, to provide for instructional activities in yard area and accessory buildings, and to update and clarify provisions relating to home occupation permitting and procedures. And finally, item number 8, request for approval to set the date of September 1st, 2015 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Weber County zoning map, Wolf Creek area, by rezoning 9.11 acres of forest residential, or FR1, to open space, or O1, rezoning approximately 15.97 acres of open space O1 and Commercial Valley CV2 to Commercial Valley Resort 1, and rezone 30.65 acres of forest residential, or FR3, to O1, open space 1.
Will you read that one more time?
No,
You sure?
I'm positive.
You might want to.
I can talk about the fair a little longer if you
Yeah,
want.
you could, that and throw this in. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the consent items as read.
I'll second. Ricky, why don't you fill us in quickly on the
Right.
purchase orders?
For purchase orders, we had 26 POs this week for $119,000. 58% of that amount, or $69,000, was for the gun range, roof truss repairs, and baffles. 7%, or $8,600, was for computers for the library, and another 7%, or $8,500, computers for the health department. Roads accounted for 6% of that amount, or $7,600. They bought some new plow blades. And then 5%, or $6,500, was for the landfill generator oil. As far as checks, we wrote 145 checks this week for $2 million. 65% of that was, or 1.4 million of that was to the library, or for the library for construction. 6% or 119,000 was escrow release, and 5% or 111,000 was for roads, for asphalt and supplies.
We are going to have Linda Waingsgard from our library come in here in the next couple of weeks and just give us a brief update on how things are going on in the library. But if you've had the chance to go through or to go by the southwest branch in Roy, it's coming along. It's getting awful close, and we're way excited to have that done. And there's just an awful lot going on, so we'll get a little update on that, so that as you see these expenditures come through, you'll know, kind of what they're for and how they're being appropriated. So,
I forgot to mention today is election day, primary election day in Ogden, Riverdale, and West Haven.
oh, cool.
Everyone should have already voted by mail, but if not, they can vote at vote centers at a couple different locations, and they can drop it by at our office.
Thanks for the reminder. I wasn't cued into that because I'm in an unincorporated area and not in a municipality, and so I wasn't tuned in. So for all out there who can hear me, get out and vote today. I said that loud so that they can all hear.
How many, what kind of percentage of folks voted by mail? Has there been good turnout?
Actually, yeah. So far in Ogden City, our turnout as of Friday is double what it was 2 years ago.
Great.
Riverdale and West Haven, Riverdale was by mail 2 years ago, and we're right in line with expecting probably the same amount of turnout in Riverdale this year. West Haven looks like it's right along as well. 2 years ago, it had higher turnout because it had a mayoral primary. So turnout is quite high across the county and across the state so far.
Good.
It's great. As of Friday, we've had a 9.6% turnout, and that's about 3,000 voters. 3,192. Riverdale was at 17.9%, which is 744 voters, and West Haven was at 13% with 674 voters. Yep.
Great. All right, thanks for those updates, Ricky. Commissioner, is there any other questions on the consent items? Okay, we'll call for the vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. All right, to our action items. Discussion and or action on the treasurer opening a new checking account. Well, hello, Mr. Treasurer.
How are you?
Good to have you here.
Thank you. According to policy, Weber County Policy 7.3, the establishment of bank accounts, it requires that the treasurer, the clerk auditor, discuss any new requests for this, as well as a resolution from the county attorney's office, and then brought to you for approval in a public meeting. Clerk auditor has requested that they be provided a new checking account. I'd like to maybe just read a couple of paragraphs that they've written to put it in context and see what your thoughts are about that. The clerk auditor's office is requesting a new checking account be established to assist customers in completing their passport applications. Currently, customers can only submit a check or money order with their completed passport application to be mailed to the U.S. State Department. Can't use cash, credit cards, that type of thing. Between 5 and 10 passport applications each day are rejected because customers don't show up with checks in hand. This causes a burden to the customers. They got to leave, go find a check, go find a bank that will give them a money order or whatever, and then they have to come back and reprocess. So that's the dynamic. Is a lot of people show up to do their passport applications. A check is required. They don't have one. To alleviate the burden on these customers, the clerk auditor's office would like the ability to accept cash or a debit or credit card from customers, and then have the county write a check out for that amount and payable to the U.S. State Department. There would be a convenience fee charged for the service to cover the cost of the check, as well as the costs that are associated with the credit card or debit card processing. And the convenience fee would be high enough so as not to compete with any private business doing the same type of service. So the account would be reconciled monthly by the clerk auditor's office, and then this reconciliation would be forwarded to the treasurer for review. So
What kind of fees are we talking?
Maybe I could ask Mr. Hatch what his thoughts are.
Right now, we're looking at approximately $5 per application.
That's great. I didn't know that was an issue. I didn't know that that was the route on that, but absolutely, we've got to take care of these people when they come in our building. They've made it to your office, so that's a great idea. I appreciate you bringing that forward and thinking outside the box and helping these folks out. So that's great. I totally support that.
So this came as a recommendation from the clerk auditor's office, right? And John, then I'm assuming that you feel good about it?
Concur.
Or you're-
We've got to, if we're going to alleviate the challenge and the frustration that exists with this
Yes.
on a daily basis, we either have to use the checking account that we've got currently, and we don't have a lot of checking accounts available.
Right.
And we've got really two that we could use: the general account, which is awkward, to create an easy path to
Mechanism.
let the check be processed, and then have the main checking account. We have very few people that have access that can write and sign. Myself, my chief deputy. If we use the clerk auditor's impressed account, it's used for special circumstances outside of that you approve. And normally there's more money in that account than we want just general staff to be able to sign. What a separate account does is we'll have a small amount of money in it. More staff from the clerk auditor's office could sign it, as well as myself or my chief deputy, Brenda, will write. But it reduces the risk if we create a separate account for this activity.
That's
And
great.
that seems like a better route to go than to create risk on these other two accounts that we have outstanding that we could tap into, but having a small account for this purpose seems to fit that function well.
And go
Great.
ahead.
Oh, we have lots of controls in place, or have designed a controlled process to prevent risk and to eliminate the chance of someone going rogue with the checkbook. So the risk there is quite minimal. Just to give you a perspective, we accept about 2,000 passport applications a year, and folks come in and there's a list of required documentation that they have to bring, and we clearly mark that in our office and on our website, but still there's a lot, and people don't realize sometimes that you have to bring in a check that has to be mailed to the State Department. And to turn away that many people, it's so hard, because they come up, they take off work, and they come in and
Right.
and they're ready to go, and then to be told, sorry, you have to go away, you have to go get this. We thought it would be a good service. At the same time, it's not a required service, and we didn't want to feel like we were competing with local banks or businesses to provide the service of we can create basically a money order or a check for you. And that's why we chose the price point where we did, because we don't want to try to steal business away from any of the local private entities.
Sounds good. I like it. Do you want me to make a motion?
Yeah, but Scott, from an accounting perspective, feel good as well?
I do. Got our controls in place, and
Yeah, come on up.
we've been able to establish adequate controls. It will be reviewed monthly. If any employee wrote a check, it wouldn't be more than 30 days before that was caught. So there are adequate controls in place, and there's very minimal risk, and that's why we split out a separate account. It doesn't have a lot of money in there, so that anybody who went rogue couldn't get away with very much in any scenario. So I think the county is adequately covered, and the fees are set sufficient to recover our costs and not to compete with any private business.
Great. Well, you're all very creative. We appreciate you bringing us good common sense solutions to these challenges, so thank you for doing that. Commissioner?
I'll make a motion that is there a number?
34.
34? It's a ordinance? A resolution. I make a motion to accept resolution number 34 for the treasurer to open a new checking account.
I'll second that motion then, which is to adopt and approve resolution number 34. Is there discussion to the motion, Commissioner? Okay, seeing none, we'll roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
The motion passes. Thank you.
Good. I've got the resolution prepared by the attorney's office, so maybe after I can have you sign that and we'll get underway.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 2 is discussion and or action on the second quarter interim financial report. So Scott, make yourself comfortable.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Morning, Commissioners. So you have in front of you the second quarter interim financial report. Just as a background, this is required by law every quarter to review budget to actuals and also kind of a comparison to where we were at this time last year. So you have in front of you a report for the general fund and for the municipal services fund, and I just want to talk about a couple of quick areas, and you can look at this in detail a little later if you want, or if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Sales tax, we are expecting still to come in around 4% over the prior year, so that's good. And property tax, I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to get a 1% increase. Our budgets are budgeting for about a 0.5% increase. If we get a little bit more than that, that's good. But I don't want to over budget revenues and come up short. So as we look through some of the expenditures, there are just 2 areas I want to point out. On the second page, expenditures by department, the district court, you can see that they've burned through about 67% of their budget halfway through the year. This is trending a little higher than we've expected. What these are, the court orders mental health evaluations to be performed, and the county has to pay for them. And so there's really not much we can do to control those costs. We just have to pay whatever the court orders. And so if we continue to trend the way we're going, we're going to need about another $28,000 to complete the year. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through the budget hearings, just to make sure that we're adequately funded. And then the second issue on the municipal services fund, this is on page, I think page 6, second to last page. The animal shelter. So they experienced an operating loss last year of approximately $60,000. This operating loss was billed out to the cities and to the municipal services area of the county, and so and then they bumped up their quarterly service charge to make sure we don't have a big operating loss going forward. So the result of that is we're going to need about another $24,000 to pay for our animal shelter in the municipal services area. And again, we'll bring this up during the budget hearings and make budget adjustments as we go from there. So with that, unless you have any other questions, I'll present to you this interim financial report.
So tell us, can you just real quick brief us on how we're coming on our new program, our new financial program rollout?
We've had consultants here every other week for the last, well, it seems like forever. And they're coming again next week, and we'll be here for a couple more weeks. But we are moving on track. We're getting our data files converted now. We've set up our chart of accounts, and we are going to go through our static environment testing, which is we're going to go through and make sure everything is configured as we've designed it and everything's working as we expect. Once we sign off on that, we'll actually start training the trainers. So Chris Ward and various other trainers in the county will receive instruction from our consultants, and then they'll start training staff, and we appear to be on track to have a January 1st go live date. So it's exciting, and we're moving forward.
It's still as good as sliced bread
Sure.
so far?
It's going to help us out a lot. It's going to make our processes much more efficient, and it's going to help us get good information quickly. Okay. And so I'm excited for it.
So my next question has to do with the internal auditor. We hired an internal auditor not too long ago, and they've been busy out doing some auditing. Has the audit committee been getting reports on what's been happening there and that?
Yes. We received, I think, 3, Ricky, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we received 3 final audit reports, I believe at the landfill, the animal shelter, and I believe the library. And there are currently 2 or 3 audits underway.
Okay.
So yeah,
Great.
we're receiving regular reports.
Good. That seemed to be working out pretty good.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, that was an important thing. I think that we started doing that internal auditing, so I appreciate that.
If I can jump in just really quickly, the financial system implementation is going well. It doesn't do justice to the amount of effort required that's being put forth by Scott and the other accounting staff. Just this part, just setting up a chart of accounts, normally you'd think that's pretty easy, but it requires strategic thought on the direction of the county, as odd as it sounds, to make sure that we're able to accommodate and be flexible enough to adjust if there are departmental changes or other things in the future. And data conversion is tremendously time consuming, and Scott and the whole team up there has done just a great job Scott's put in a tremendous number of hours and effort and intelligence behind this. So just kudos to them for doing such a great job. And I'll probably say this 10 more times, and it'll be well deserved every time.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's one of those things that is difficult, and there's got to be times along the way when you think, wow, maybe it's not going to be worth it. But I think in the end, it's clear that it will be. And it's great to have those abilities to adjust and just better records, better accounting, better policies, the whole process. So we're looking forward to it, and we're glad that you're willing to take this on. And again, adapt, I think, to the changing circumstances around us, and that's really what we need to be about is adapting to things as they change, and frankly being on the forefront of that adaptation, not being slow to adapt, but being wise but quick adapters as we see the tools that are made available to us and getting out front of them and tackling those challenges head on. We appreciate it. Doing a great job for us, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Okay, so my guess is that we don't need to take action on that, right? That's just a report, so we don't need to have a vote or anything on that. Okay, well, any other questions then for Scott? Because that is the last action item on our agenda, other than our boilerplate that we make assignments for next week. So
Unless you want me just to talk to make this last longer.
can you talk about the fair?
You've talked about the fair pretty good.
Okay.
I love the fair.
Commissioners, can I mention one item?
Absolutely.
Wow, where did that come
We were considering having a closed meeting today. It didn't make it onto the agenda. I don't know if you were planning any time. The items that were scheduled to be discussed are not something that have to be discussed today. We could do it next week. If you have time, I think due process would permit it to still put it on today for a closed meeting if you choose.
Let's do it. Dave has informed us over the years that, and again recently, that we can have that closed meeting without it being on the agenda. Let's go ahead and do that. We have some availability, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Sure. And the purpose will be, I don't know if you saw Dave's letter, the purpose will be to discuss strategy relating to the purchase or sale of real property, also to discuss the character or competence of an individual. In addition, we would discuss briefly pending or imminent litigation.
Okay, so about all the exceptions. We'll take all of those. All right, we'll do that then. First, we'll assign our Pledge of Allegiance and Thought of the Day for Tuesday, August 18th. Pledge of Allegiance. Any volunteers that might be here that day would like to lead us in the pledge? Mr. Wilkinson, thank you for that volunteer. We'll do that. We'll assign Mr. Wilkinson for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Thought of the Day would be Commissioner Ebert. Did you do it last time? Commissioner Bell?
I get skipped regularly.
Okay. And now to our public comment. If there's any from the public who are here who would like to comment, please come and take the microphone. State your name for the record. Okay, seeing none, we'll save that for next week. Appreciate you all being here. We do have some from the public here, and we do appreciate your willingness to attend our meetings and try and understand the things that are going on. We appreciate your involvement in our community. It means an awful lot to us. Okay, so we'll now take a motion to enter into our closed meeting.
I'll make a motion. We go into closed session to talk about what the attorney just said.
And I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, it'll be a roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye. We're in closed meeting. Thank you.